Hey everyone, and welcome to this beginner's guide on how to draft in Dota 2. The draft is without question one of the most important elements of Dota 2. It has such a considerable impact on your ability to win games and gain MMR. And for some reason, a lot of players dismiss it as a simple hero select, and they could not be further from the truth. The draft is without question one of the most important elements of this game, and games are won and lost in the draft. And that goes for your, relatively beginner pubs all the way to the international. Bad drafts create bad results. And it is so important that you learn how the draft works and how you can maximize it to your advantage. And let me just give you a quick example, and I'm going to bring up, there's another example later on too, but let's look at anti-mage here. So in this particular draft, I went to anti-mage, and I can see that, if I have a Tidehunter on my team, this is with friends and foes, by the way, on Dota Plus. It gives you a percentage-based kind of analytic reading on statistics based on how your hero performs with different matchups. And you might think, Alex, okay, you have a Tiny on your team, that's a 2% chance decrease, and 2% here, 2% there. What's it even matter, Alex? Well, let's just say that if you draft poorly consistently, and you enter games at like a 60% chance to lose and a 40% chance to win all the time, your MMR is going nowhere. Because, Dota 2 is complex enough as it is, and yes, you still have a 40% chance to win, and yes, you might perform great, but if you statistically put yourself at a major disadvantage every single game, then you're going to have a hard time, finding wins and gaining MMR. So it's so important you understand how the draft works so that you can maximize it to the greatest potential you can. Now, the draft works in three phases: the banning phase, the picking phase, and the strategy phase. They sound relatively straightforward, but on the UI you have both teams here. So you have the teams and their selections. You have heroes that are banned with the kind of slashes through them here. You have heroes that have been picked that are grayed out, and then the heroes that are fully colored that are still available. We're going to talk about each of these phases so you can make the best plays that you can. Now, first of all, the banning phase. The banning phase is so incredibly important, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I see relatively new players make, the way they approach banning. A lot of players say, okay, well, I hate Pudge. Pudge is annoying. I hate getting Pudge hooked, and so I'm going to ban Pudge every single game. And that is the worst way you can approach hero banning. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are, let's say you're relatively new. You're playing Ogre Magi. He's a very beginner-friendly hero, one that I've identified in many, in my guides. And you're going Ogre Magi. You are, and you don't want him to get banned, and you're assuming he doesn't get banned. So you're going Ogre Magi. That's what you're aiming for. And you're position 4, which means you're going to be against the safe laner. That means that you want to ban someone like Lifestealer, who is a safe lane hero on the other team that completely counters Ogre Magi, because Ogre's huge health pool will just heal Lifestealers with his feast. So it's very important that you understand that if you're in the off lane and you're against a Lifestealer as an Ogre Magi, like, you're countered. You can't do anything. You can't trade with him. You can't do anything against Lifestealer. He has Rage, which makes him magic immune, and all your, you can't stun him, you can't ignite him, you can't do anything to that Lifestealer. You ban that Lifestealer. If you know that you are playing Ogre Magi and you're in the position 4, you do not want to go against the position 1 Lifestealer, or the game is a disaster, okay? That's how you approach bans. If you are, a hero and you know which hero you want to be, you're going TA mid. You try to ban Viper because Viper counters you, right? You have to know your counters and you have to ban your biggest counter. Who are the heroes you really don't want to play against? Try and ban them. And not from a standpoint of, I hate Pudge, I hate getting hooked into that tower. Yes, that can be annoying. But if you're a TA mid, you're not going against a Pudge mid unless you're going against Dendi. But what you're looking to do is you're looking to get rid of someone like Viper because they counter you. And remember, any nomination for a ban is not guaranteed. It actually only has a 50% chance of rolling. So even if someone tries to ban your favorite hero, there's a good chance that it just doesn't get banned 50% of the time, if they're the most popular ban on the planet. But anyways, it is also important to understand that if all the bans don't roll, the game itself will automatically ban to a certain amount in order to ensure that, based on MMR, that heroes are banned appropriately. So every nomination, will not pass a 50% roll test, and at that point, the game will automatically do its bans. But banning is so important. Make sure that you approach it properly. The picking phase is also super important. With picking, you have to understand that it goes in a 2-2-1 format. That means that 2 heroes pick on either team, and then those 4 results are shown. So 2 heroes on Radiant, 2 heroes on Dire, and then once those 4 picks are set, both teams show their first 2 picks. And then 2 more picks happen, and then they're shown. And then finally, the last 2 picks show at the same time for either team. And it's important you understand that. And it's also important you understand that, like, for instance, a lot of new players will be like, I want to play Crystal Maiden. And then they're like, wait, what? Crystal Maiden wasn't banned. Now she's banned. What happened to Crystal Maiden? What happened was that the other team picked Crystal Maiden too. And if a single hero is picked by both teams in a given round, that hero is automatically banned, and those two players have to repick. So bear that in mind. It's also important you understand that if you don't pick within the allotted time, you're going to lose 2 gold per second. And you'll be given a random hero assignment after 30 seconds, which sucks. So don't do that. I was in a game where someone didn't pick, and they randomed into Meepo, and that game was basically a immediate abandoned forfeit because we got absolutely destroyed because that guy had no idea to play Meepo, and he randomed into it because he was AFK. That's a bad time. Drafting considerations. If you don't listen to anything I say this entire video, listen to this. Supports have to pick first. Please, supports pick first. Why, Alex? Why? Why don't I pick last? I don't want to get countered. You have to pick first because you have the least farm priority. Now, as a Crystal Maiden or as an Ogre Magi, yes, of course, you don't want to get hard counter because that just feels bad. But you really don't want your safe lane or your mid lane getting countered either. They have to carry the game. So supports always pick first. The first 2 to draft should always be hard support and soft support. Do not leave it to your safe lane or mid lane or even your off laner to draft in the first 2 picks. Okay? It absolutely should never happen. If you are a support player and you're not picking within the first 2 picks, you've done it wrong and you've already set your team back. Okay? You have to understand that. It is also very important that you hover your heroes to show which heroes you're thinking of going before. So if you're thinking about going, a safe lane Ricky, hover Ricky so that your teammates can pick based on, based on what you're showing. Like if I'm seeing a mid Zeus, I'm going to lean towards Maiden because I know I can give him the Arcane Aura to help his mana generation. That's good synergy, right? But if you don't hover Zeus and I'm like, I don't feel like playing Maiden this game, I'll pick someone else. I'll pick Dazzle. He really does not synergize at all with Zeus, and then you pick Zeus after. Well, you've just made your own game harder as a mid. So if you're playing mid or safe, hover your picks so that people know what you're picking. So maybe they can prioritize supports and offlaners that actually benefit you. And another thing that you should keep in mind is that the mid lane and the safe lane should be picking last, depending on who's more likely to get hard countered. Let's talk about Ricky, for instance. If Ricky is going safe lane and your mid lane, for whatever reason, is a TA, right? TA can get hard countered by Viper, but let's assume Viper's been banned, okay? Like in our last slide there. So Viper's been banned, TA and Ricky are hovering their picks. Who gets the last one? It should be Ricky, because you don't want them to see Ricky and be like, oh, an Invis hero, get someone who can counter that Invis hero, get a Slardar, get a bounty hunter, get a Zeus, get someone who's going to counter that Ricky. You don't want that. What you want to do is say, okay, Ricky's position 1, he's an invisible hero. If they have no counter to Invis, we're at a huge team advantage. So you know what? TA, Viper's already banned. You pick in that second round selection and allow Ricky to last pick, because Ricky is least likely to get countered as the last pick. That is how you do it. And if for some reason, if they draft a bounty hunter as a carry, or they draft a Slardar off lane, or they draft Zeus for mid, and Ricky can be like, this is no longer a good matchup, and the last safe lane pick, Ricky, can change their pick to something more appropriate, okay? It is so important you understand this, that the draft order is incredibly important, okay? It's incredibly important, okay? So please, supports always pick first, and then determine who is the most likely to be countered, and they get the last pick, okay? I did a video recently, I'll link it above, on organizing your draft screen. This makes things so much easier for you when you're drafting, okay? This is the way I do it. Razor is one of my favorite heroes, so if I have to go mid or position 1, I look at Razor first. He's not that great in the meta right now, but I know who I'm banning and who I'm avoiding. If I get a chance to go off lane or, position 1, I look to maybe go Ricky, and here are the people that I'm avoiding, right? I got my Maiden avoids, right? I got my Ogre Magi avoids. Look at that lifesteal, we talked about him earlier. I got my Wind Ranger avoids. All this is organized, so like, okay, I'm off lane, I want to go Slardar, he's my primary pick. If Slardar gets banned, I know, or picked by the other team, I can go Legion Commander. I want to avoid Slardar against Juggernaut, or if I know I'm off lane and I'm going to be picking Slardar, I'm going to ban Juggernaut. Having an organized screen helps you so that you don't get completely confused and overwhelmed at the draft selection screen. So this is because I like to play all the roles, but if like you just like playing, support, position 5 or soft support, you can design this just around all the support heroes you play. This is a little more crazy because I play all different heroes, but organizing your draft screen is huge, and again, use the video I linked above earlier. The draft strategy phase is also extremely important. So once you pick your hero and all the heroes are picked, you get about 30 seconds to talk strategy with your team. You get to estimate where you believe the opposing heroes will fall in their lane. You can, pick your heroes and determine, once again, confirm where you are in the lanes. You also get to use your starting gold to pick some items here, right? This is an example kind of pick up for for an anti-mage, for instance, if you want some regen in lane. But at the end of the day, right, what you do is you're using your starting items here, and then what you get here is you get an opportunity to kind of make strategies with your team and figure out who's in which lanes. It's very important. Some good conversations happening at that point in time. You also get to share items here. This is also a big thing at this point in time. If you click on the tangos, so if you're position 5, you absolutely need to be sending 2 tangos to your mid. If you're not, you're not doing your job properly. I even go as far as to send, I usually buy 6 tangos if I'm a position 5. I'll send 2 to my mid and 1 to my safe lane carry. Because listen, those shared tangos, they go a long way in helping your guys stay in lane and helping to accelerate their farm in the early game. You do not want your carry spending money on things they don't need spending money on, okay? Do not be a selfish support, okay? So it's important you share your tangos. Please share your tangos. Now, this is a bit of a recap here, but understanding positions, we talked about this a million times. Position 1 is the safe lane. They have the greatest farm potential and farm requirements. Position 2 is the mid laner, right? They have so they're basically your other carry. They need a lot of farm as well. They're often first to level. They often have ultimates that you prioritize for a number of reasons. You have the off laner, very tanky, disruptive, and then you have your 2 supports. It's very important you understand that, you can role queue in ranked for very specific roles. So let's say you just want to play mid lane, off lane, or safe lane. You can spend something called a role queue game that you earn in order to ensure that you pick into one of those 3. You can just pick safe lane if you want. You can just pick mid lane or off lane. You can just pick the hard or soft supports if you wish. And you expend a game. If you pick just hard support and soft support, you will stay packed. If you pick all 5 and allow the matchmaker to queue you appropriately, you actually gain games to use later. So it's a very interesting system, but it's also important you understand and recap the idea of those positions there. And again, my second video in the Beginner's Guide series helps you to understand this. That's what the whole video is about. Now, I want to quickly talk about hero characteristics and team composition. There actually used to be in the draft panel a team composition panel that they got rid of, but it's very important you understand that there are certain types of teams that are good at certain types of things, and you'll start to learn this as you gain more experience. Like there are teams that are really good at team fighting. They'll have game-winning ultimates that can turn the tide of a team fight. Heroes like Faceless Void with Chronosphere. You have Enigma with I was gonna say Midnight Pulse, but it's Black Hole, right? He also has Midnight Pulse, but it's Black Hole that we're after with Enigma. You have Magnus Reverse Polarity. You have Puck as well. These are heroes that really shine in team fights that, if they ult properly. Earthshaker's another one, right? Who, if you get everyone in an Echo Slam with Earthshaker, that's a game-winning condition, right? They can win games based on their team fight capabilities. And then you have pushing capabilities. Teams that are able to push lanes very well with Pugnas, Shadow Shaman, who drops wards and takes towers, Chikiro, whose dual breath can really clear lanes. Macropyre can just completely decimate lanes, right? Tinker applies constant pressure in lanes and can literally just, boots of travel to different areas and constantly push lanes. Split pushing is heroes that can use things like Manta Style or Illusions to basically push multiple areas of the game at multiple times. You can be pushing top and bottom at the same time with Terrorblade Illusions. With Meepo duplicates, right? Lone Druid and his bear. Nature's Prophets, can pretty much do that everywhere, right? He can teleport everywhere he wants and push lanes with his treants. So these are heroes that really excel at pushing multiple lanes and creating a ton of map pressure. And then you have heroes that have a strong laning presence. Sven with his stun. Wraith King. Ursa, who can kill you at level 2, basically. Viper, who drives you insane. Legion Commander, once she gets her duel, turns into a complete nightmare, right? These are heroes that have very early kill potential, right? Especially someone like Ursa. And then you kind of have someone like, Crystal Maiden. They frostbite someone in place, and Ursa's just allowed to just fury swipe someone nonstop. You're dead, right? Ursa is a terrifying hero with a strong lane presence, right? And then you have heroes with good initiation. Earthshaker, Axe, Magnus, Puck, Centaur Warrunner with his Stomp, Faceless Void with Chronosphere, Enigma with Black Hole. These are heroes that they can start a fight by jumping in and getting work done. Axe jumps in with his Blink Dagger, blinks in, I should say, and gets his Berserker's Call off, and that's a win condition. Magnus, Reverse Polarity is a win condition. Centaur blinks in, gets a Stomp, and attracts attention with his Retaliate. So there's so much here. There are teams that really rely on initiation. Then you have stuns and disables, right? Ogre Magi can slow and stun. Disruptor with Glimpse can bring people back, can actually capture them in different fields. Crystal Maiden can slow, can frostbite. Clockwork is a stunning and zoning machine. He can kind of basically just jump right in on somebody, cogs them, and stun them into oblivion, right? These are heroes that really excel at disabling, stunning, and disrupting enemy movement. And then you have heroes that kind of like can really take down Roshan very fast, right? Ursa can take down Roshan at level 6. People forget that. People feel like you're just playing, Roshan's fine. He's not going to get taken down. Then he's just dead. And you're like, oh, it's only 10 minutes in the game because it's an Ursa. It's an Ursa. He gets a Mask of Madness. He goes crazy, and then he gets furious, and then he just takes it down, right? Templar Assassins, another that can take down Roshan really fast once they get their Desolator. Troll Warlord, right, with Fervor can take down Roshan very fast. So there are heroes that can really benefit from taking that down. Not only do you get the Aegis, but you get experience and gold across your whole team. It's huge, right? So those are different considerations you can place on teams. Now, I wanted to do this here to help you kind of understand. And I think I might do another video eventually based on this, just like a little quiz video, but is this a good draft? Is this a good draft? Anti-Mage into Alchemist into a Arc Warden, Slark, and Luna. Anybody that's been playing the game for a while is looking at this and be like, man, that's crazy. And let's be clear. So this is, the way I have it set up here is safe lane, hard support, mid, off lane, soft support. This is garbage. This is a garbage draft. No one's supporting. These are all farm-heavy heroes. In fact, some of the most farm-heavy heroes. How could you possibly imagine to get enough farm to make any of these heroes functional? This is a horrible draft. This is a nightmare draft, right? What about this one? Well, support. Position 6, nightmare. Support. Garbage. It's garbage. There's no carry. The lineup makes no sense. You lose at this draft. Don't draft like that. Don't draft like that. What about this one, though? What about this one? Safe lane Anti-Mage. Hard support in the safe lane with Anti-Mage, Crystal Maiden. Mid Zeus. Off lane Bristleback. Off lane position 4 Earthshaker. Now we're talking. At least this one makes sense. You see some synergy here. You got initiation. You have durability. You have counters against invisible units. You have a global ultimate in the middle, right? In mid with Thunder God's Wrath. And then you have mana generation for your Thunder God. And then you have a very, very heavy late game carry. This is a pretty good balance. This is a balanced team. A good team. So let's look at this now. Who had the better draft? So this is where you have to start to really flex your muscles a little bit. Flex your noggin muscles. Your noodle muscles. Who has the better draft here? So take a look and bear in mind again, safe lanes, hard supports, mid laners, off lane position 4 support. Zeus is a major problem here for this team. Why? The Radiant has the better draft. Because look at the way these heroes counter each other. Now, as a new player, you're thinking, Alex, do these heroes really counter? Does it really matter? Yes, it does. Zeus will make these two invisible heroes borderline useless because he can reveal them. Yes, he can create true sight with his abilities. Okay? Puck's fine. Puck will be fine. Okay? Razor cannot static link Anti-Mage, their primary carry, because he's just going to blink and break the link. So Razor is useless, right? Well, I guess Razor could go on Bristle, but still, no. Razor's useless against Anti-Mage. These two Invis heroes are useless against Zeus. Ricky, if he gets farmed, could maybe jump on Zeus, and even if he's visible, kill him in time, but you need to be incredibly farmed. At the end of the day, Radiant has an advantage here. because this draft has invisible heroes countered by Zeus, and you have a primary carry who will not get the damage drain from him because he can blink out of the static link from Razor, but Dire might still win because of their teamfight potential. You have Will o' the Wisp, a really interesting teamfight mechanic out of Keeper of the Light. You also have the teamfight mechanics of Puck and the elusiveness of Puck, the silence of Puck. There's a lot of teamfight potential here, but overall, this team counters this team. Okay, what about this? What about this one? What about this one? We got Lifestealer, Lich, Viper, Abaddon, and we have Clockwork versus this lineup of Juggernaut, Ogre Magi, Templar Assassin, Legion Commander, and Lina. I hinted at these ones already. Lifestealer destroys Ogre Magi. Okay? Viper destroys Templar Assassin. Abaddon counters Legion Commander. Lina can't do anything against Lifestealer because of his rage. Okay? And is very susceptible to Clockwork getting on top of her and stunning her into oblivion. She has no escape. At the end of the day, the Radiant wins this fight too. And it's very clear. Like this is a huge disadvantaged team here. Because look, Lifestealer feasts on this unit. Lifestealer will probably win a fight against Legion Commander as well. Lifestealer is rage magic immune against Lina. Lina can barely even hit him. Ogre Magi can't do much against him when he's in rage. All of the refraction procs on Templar Assassin are destroyed by Viper. Abaddon heals if he's dueling, he's just healing, right? He can ult and heal. So there is so much counters for the Radiant, and it's very important you understand that the Dire here lost at the draft. If TA picks into Viper or TA picks first and Viper last picks, they lose at the draft. That's why I'm telling you guys this is so incredibly important. These are principles you have to learn. And once again, it's one of those things that you learn over time. Kind of get a hero pool and start working on the different heroes and learn to ban their counters, okay? And the next video in our series, we're almost at the end of our Beginner's Guide series. The next video, which should be the second last, is on effective communication. You see it right there. Give it a click, take a watch, and thank you so much for watching. And a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time in effective communication.